going to start recording. Okay, there we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Facebook takeover with KindnessCan. We've got Jane and Paul here with us, and I'm so excited about this because if you know anything about me, I'm passionate about kindness, and one of my job titles is a kindness advocate, and so this is something that just means the world to me, and I always think that we can do with more kindness in our lives. So I am super excited for this one, and I really hope that it'll touch you and it'll help you and it'll just spread kindness around the world. So KindnessCan is a movement that shares the joy and the power of kindness. It's a movement for individuals, for corporates, schools, and communities from around the world to join in. And so, yeah, welcome to Jane and Paul.
Thank you so very much. Hello.
Thank you, guys. This is so exciting. So I know Jane right back from school days, and we've kept in contact. She's a bit of a celebrity, so she's my little claim to fame with everyone that I know. And so when I saw what she and Paul were doing, I was so excited, and I got in touch with them and asked if they would come and join our Facebook takeover. And so will you guys just introduce yourselves and let us know a little bit more about yourselves and your personal life and how this whole movement came about?
Yeah, sure. Well, if I can take the lead here and just say that it's funny that you hold me as your claim to fame, but I hold you as my claim to fame. And I don't mean that lightly, because you'll know and pay testament to the fact that we were together on your 21st, and I followed your journey very, very closely. And you've come up against some really trying situations, and never ever have you shown anything but gratitude, positivity, kindness, and the real side as well. So I really want to tip my hat off to you, because being vulnerable is being kind, because you're an access point for other people, but it's also tough. So I just want to hold space for you and just say I see you, and you know that I see you, because I take any opportunity to really, just say I'm really proud of you.
Thank you, Jamie.
So Paul Bushell, you cute little button over there sitting in the thatch house.
What a way to start a talk. I'm like kind of pushing
so
back.
What do you love about us, Paul?
It's just so KindnessCan is a movement that Jane and I started 2 years ago. I very cheekily, when I finished my book, #Raising Kids to Thrive in a Constantly Changing World, I knew there was only one person in the world who could write the foreword for that book, and that was, of course, the magnificent Jane Linley-Thomas. And so I very cheekily emailed her on the off chance and said, Jane, you have to write the foreword for my book. Thank goodness she said yes, kind as ever. And we haven't stopped talking since. And in those early conversations, we really discovered that through Jane's work in radio and as mine as a psychologist, if kindness had been at play in the stories that we were hearing and holding space for, outcome would have been completely different. And we were so inspired and motivated by this word kind that we wanted to take it to the world as a reminder, because I think we both firmly believe that kindness is something that exists inside of all of us. We're born with it, but every now and then we just need a reminder how to refine and reactivate that kindness in our life.
So you're saying that it was kind of me to say yes, but actually I was thinking, who is this cheeky guy? Drop me a mail. I've never met you, and you want me to do the foreword for your book? What's your book about, bro? And then I saw it was about kids, and then I went and Googled and saw how good looking Paul was, and I was like, what time can you get to East Coast Radio?
Curiosity is a part of kindness, right?
Yes. No, but I mean, I believe that the universe really lined us up, because Paul and I are just so passionate about it. And what I love about kindness is that it belongs to all of us. It really is something that we all have access to, but it's very easy to be kind on a Friday evening, on a Saturday morning while you're milling around a flea market, on a Sunday while you're lying at the pool. But maybe on a Monday, sitting in back-to-back traffic, feeling stressed out, you're not feeling so kind.
Yeah.
So what was also really exciting about finding kind of entry points into kindness is that we have choice. And if we look around in the world right now, it has never been clearer that, gosh, we need to be kind.
Yeah.
But we look at the kind of character of the school bully, on the field. He's not been kind to the kids around him because he's not been kind to himself.
Yeah.
And as a mother of 3 kids, I'm dealing with 2 kids at the moment that are actually having hard times with words from other people. And I'm like, but people that are sound and happy aren't saying that kind of stuff. So there's more to the picture. When you do the digging, you realize that, oh, okay, this is actually what's happening in their homes at the moment. So that is also a huge point and focus of KindnessCan's work is kindness to self. But man, Paul, I mean, how long have I been working on myself for? 2 years. It's still a work in practice. There's still days that I get it terribly wrong and we phone each other, WhatsApp each other and just be like, whoa, like hard day in the saddle. And I think also being a kindness advocate, ambassador, facilitator, the bar in our own lives is really high. But it's also learning that from the falling down moments, you role playing that you too don't get it right all the time. But Paulie, let's go back and talk about this whole relationship that we have with ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when Jane and I first started talking about kindness and the role that it can play in the world and communities and people's stories and lives, it kind of just really hit us square on that if we are in a relationship with ourselves, because we absolutely are in a relationship with ourselves, our thoughts are those conversations that we are having with ourselves every day. So many of the actions that we choose and don't choose to take are a reflection of that relationship also. So we are definitely in a relationship with ourselves, but for so many of us, it's easier to be kind and more present and active and effervescent in other relationships than we are in the relationship with ourselves. And that's where so much unkindness in the world starts to stem from, not only to ourselves, but other people. Because when we're not feeling good, when we're feeling frustrated and unheard and angry and scared and sad, that reflects in our behavior, our unkind behavior often. So if we want to fix a lot of that, we've got to take a moment and start reflecting on how does my relationship with me look? And how is that playing out? Because I need to start giving that some love, not only for me, but for the world.
Yeah. And it starts as a manual insertion, doesn't it, Paulie? I mean, I definitely fell into a space, as a 6-year-old girl, I sat on the backseat of my dad's car and said to him that I would be on East Coast Radio. That was at 6 years old. So when I got into East Coast Radio 18 years ago, I was so sure in my mind that every moment that I spent on air would be positive and uplifting. And what happened in doing that, sure, people would say to me like, are you always happy? And I'd be like, no, but I just don't bring it to work. But what had happened was that I was taking my shiny self to work, and we can all identify with that. We take our rainbows and sunshines and we involved and we are there. And then we get home to our people and we have nothing but tumbleweed. And then that was
even jump in there.
Yeah.
We've got a little bit left for our people. And then when we get to those 5 minutes that we give ourselves in a day, there's nada. Okay.
Except guilt.
Except guilt.
What's that all about?
And I can relate, from the rare disease patient point of view, you often put on this act for everyone. Oh no, I'm fine, because you don't want them to always see you as the sick one or the problematic one or the burden one. So you put on this face that everything's perfect, everything's happy, and then you go home and inside you have self-doubt, lack of self-belief, imposter syndrome. All of that is such an overwhelming sense that then you have nothing more to give because you're hollow, because you've given everything possible and now there's nothing left inside you. And it is scary. And often with having a rare condition, it's an invisible disease. So then other people are saying to you, oh man, it's not that bad. At least you don't have whatever, there's like something else. At least you're still alive. At least you have medication. And that also makes you doubt yourself and be more unkind to yourself. Like, am I doing all of this for attention? Is this all in my head? Am I making it up? Are things not that bad? And then it's like this constant pressure on yourself to be the kindest and happiest person that you can be, but you're not loving yourself and you're not looking after yourself.
And I mean, that is hard even as a person that doesn't have a rare disease. So I get you when I hear you saying that, like how some days must really be a struggle. Like they really must be a struggle between the internal dialogue that you're dealing with to the social media filters and borders and spotlights and contouring and gosh, I mean, we're overwhelmed everywhere we go. It's hard out there, but even more so is it now is the time to work on the relationship with self. May that be the forgiveness of self. May that be the release of things that don't serve you. May that be the not following of the people that you know judge you. May that be, there's so many things that we can do in our daily life. And that's what it started for with me, because my mom actually said to me, I feel like you give your listeners the best of you. And I did. And it stung and it knocked the wind out of my lungs. But that is where I started to mechanically engineer my thought process. And mechanically, until it becomes organic, putting things in place that can help me with my mental health, help me with my belief system from when I was 5 years old, help me pull apart things that suppress me as opposed to liberate me. But all of that doesn't happen overnight. And it is a constant relationship. We always say, if you had to put in the amount of effort that you put in with your husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, in that new stage of your relationship, remember that you put down the phone, no you, no you, no you, no you. If you had to take a baby nail of that attention that you used to give someone else and put it into yourself, you would see fruit bear. That no matter how bad the day, when you feel like you can lean on yourself, that is where kindness begins. That's the entry point. Hey, Paulie?
Absolutely. So what I'm hearing a lot of as we're talking is how important our thoughts, how important our internal dialogue, our internal narratives, that conversation that you are having with you, 65,000 thoughts on an average day, right? Those thoughts, okay, become the basis of your relationship with yourself. And so we've got to be very conscious of tuning in carefully to those conversations sometime and really listening to what's going on there. And I'm sure all of us already know this, but so many of the things that we are saying to ourselves, about ourselves, we would never say to anybody else in the world, okay? But here's the good news, is that you are not your brain. So your brain is the same as any other organ in your body, like your heart, like your lungs, okay? It just automatically functions. And in that automatic function, it's pre-programmed to do some helpful, but also at the same time kind of mixed up and complicated things. But you are not your brain. You are yourself. You are your soul. You are your consciousness, whatever you want to call it, which gives you the ability to observe those processes. All of us right now in this moment can feel our heart and notice what's happening there. We can feel the movement of air in and out of our lungs. And with some conscious intention, we can make some changes in those spaces. And the same with our thoughts. So when you start, your brain has these automatic thoughts going on. You can observe them and be like, whoa, 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 what's going on there? I need to catch that thought. And I need to kind of really look at it carefully and ask some important questions. And Jane and I talk about the 3 C's. You want to catch those thoughts. First C, catch. Second thought, you want to confront them or have a conversation with them. Are you true? Where's the evidence? Are you useful to me? Are you kind? And if the answer is no to any of those questions, well, the third C, I need to change that thought. I need to retweak it because, and I'll give you an example based on what you're saying earlier. So some of those doubting thoughts that you had. So am I really making this up? Well, let's catch that thought for a second and let's have a conversation with that thought, because is it true to say I'm making this up? Well, definitely not, because I have a diagnosis. It's a medical diagnosis. Someone else gave that to me. I didn't just make that up. The evidence is that I feel it in certain parts of my body. I have certain experiences around that. Is it useful to deny myself the fact that I have this condition and that sometimes that's really hard? No, because that's, and here's the fourth one, that's incredibly unkind. And I wouldn't do that to somebody else. So what I need to do in this moment with this thought, which is I should doubt myself, is that I need to change it. That maybe other people's reactions are a reflection of them, of their own awkwardness, that they don't know how to deal with this moment. So they're just saying whatever they think they need to say to pass through the moment, or maybe make me feel better in some way. That's their stuff, not my stuff. And so that's how we manage and work manually. Jane's using a lovely word there, that sort of manual working with our thoughts and reworking of those thoughts, because thoughts lead to feelings and feelings lead to behavior. So when you're connecting with that thought that I should doubt myself, you start to feel guilty and uncertain and bad about yourself. And that starts to affect your behavior. So a question that came through in the chat box there, why do you think so many people struggle to be kind to themselves? Because when you have the thought that maybe I'm making this all up, or maybe I'm being dramatic and I feel guilty and bad about it, the behavior that generally follows that is we put on a bright, shiny, happy face. We put other people's needs before ours, okay? We don't take care of our health. So we see how those thoughts lead to feelings, which then lead to those behaviors, which put us at the back of the queue. I don't know what you think when I say that, Jane.
Yeah, I mean, I just go back to the days of first finding out about the 3 C's. And I promise you now, we get emails from people that are in corporate. We got an email from a mom whose son went into his own classroom and started talking about the 3 C's to his class. We've had an email from a headmaster, because no matter who you are, where you are, you have control on catching, confronting and changing those thoughts. It starts off, I promise you, remember in the beginning, Paulie, I would say to you, I found myself in a change room saying, but are you true? That's the thought, put it in my hand, but are you true? And you know what it's like, ladies, when you're in the change room and you look in the mirror and it's just not looking too good, and you are your worst critic and you are scrutinizing every bump and cranny. And it starts off by really, that thought comes into your head, you're thinking it, you're feeling that feeling, you want to go and get a Kit Kat, or you want to go and buy a new pair of shoes in every color because they're on sale. You want to do all that learned behavior, the fire escape behavior, wooden fire escape, catching, putting it, dealing with it in my hand. Okay, that's not correct. It changes direction. And it's amazing that when you start practicing it, and that's also what people don't tend to realize about kindness, is that it takes a lot of hard work. Because if being kind was easy, everyone would be doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It takes hard work being kind. But man, the universal energy that comes with being kind is, I mean, Paulie, you'll vouch. We live in the golden delight of a lot of sunshine in our lives, because I believe that we have kind currency.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost us anything with rands and cents. But the more you outpour, and the more you love, and the more you support, and the more you tolerate, and in saying tolerate, please don't get us misunderstood, that being kind doesn't always mean saying yes either. Mm-hmm. Being kind is also, this is my line, I'm not going over there. So we're not by any chance or at any stage saying you need to fold every time there is a situation that's confrontational. You need to hold your line. Yeah. Saying no is also kind to yourself.
Yeah. So in terms of that kindness currency, I'm sure there'll be a lot of people listening in who are thinking, yeah, I do all these kind things, but I'm still struggling with certain moments in my life. But it goes back to the main point that Jane and I are probably making tonight, that there's a lot of joy in expressing and sharing that kindness with other people. And it might not always come back directly, but it will find a way. But you've also got to be using that kind currency. If you really want it to work, you've got to be spending some of that kind dollar on you. And going back to what your love language is, whether that's time with yourself, whether that's kind words or gifts or affirmations or touch, and reflecting on that, and then asking yourself the tough question, when am I spending some of that on me? And that's not selfish, because if you think about, as a parent, as a partner, as a friend, if you want the people around you to grow in their own kindness in the world, and they're watching you as a blueprint of that, if they're just watching you give it to everyone else, they're getting a pretty unfair blueprint of that, first of all. And second of all, if you want to be there for them, like a lifeboat, you've got to make sure that you are taking care of yourself as that lifeboat. And so spend some of that kind dollar on you.
And I remember probably one of the most aha things you've ever said to me, and you say a lot of aha things to me, Paul Bushell. We were talking about how I would feel guilty about taking time out for myself, with 3 kids, you know, business, life, wife, daughter. And you said to me the one day, you said, what kind of blueprint are you putting forward for your children if they see you taking time for you and you feeling guilty about it? You're telling your daughter, I know, it was honestly like one of those moments. It was like you kind to your listeners so much and not so much to your family, basically. And then it was like, well, if I'm going to go and have a pedicure, I'm going to feel guilty and stew in my guilt the whole time that I'm there, and then get home and then tell my daughter, kind of without having to speak it, that if you ever take time for yourself in your life, you must feel guilty about that. And that is such a warped thing to be walking around with. When did it become a crime to make space for ourselves in our lives and then feel terrible about it? I don't do it anymore. I'm very lavishy now when I have my own time, and I'm delighted by it.
Yeah. But I think another point that's important to make, so we're talking about at a thought level here, about how we can manually take control of some of our thought processes and how that changes so much of the relationship with ourselves. But that's not to say that some feelings that we might have in the world that are hard and complicated, we're not writing off the fact that they just come from a dodgy thought. Sometimes those feelings they're right. They make sense, but that doesn't make them easy to live with. Feelings of frustration, feelings of pain, feelings of discomfort, feelings of uncertainty in the world. Okay. Yeah. And so I think part of growing a kinder relationship with yourself is also making space for those feelings. So first of all, you know, when I work with kids, I often talk about, start by giving the feeling a name in the world, and owning that feeling. I said to some kids today, there's nothing wrong with being angry in the world. Sometimes being angry is absolutely the right feeling in that moment. So name it, try to understand it, where it comes from in the world, sit with it for a little bit, okay? Remember, like your thoughts, the feeling is not the boss of you. You are always the boss of the feeling. So don't be afraid to sit with it for a little bit. As prickly and as hot as it can sometimes be, sit there and be like, right, I see you, okay? So Jane talks about being in the locker room and shouting at her thoughts. I often have these conversations with myself in the bathroom, being like, right, anxiety, I see you. I feel you today, okay? You're here, and let's talk this out. Why are you here? What are you trying to tell me? And what is it that I'm going to do with you? Because you're not going to tell me what to do. Because I know in the past, when I've just listened to you blindly, that's when I've grabbed the Kit Kat, okay? That's when I've picked a fight with someone. That's when I've done something unkind to myself or other people. So I'm going to be more specific, because I know you're an old friend. I'm going to be more specific about what I choose to do with you in this moment. And sometimes that means being kind with that feeling. Sometimes that means being stern with you in this moment, that actually you don't have a place in this moment, or I'm going to get to you later. So I think it's also important to acknowledge the fact that, yeah, some feelings, those tough feelings, they have a space, and you got to be kind and boundaried with them.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing is we often feel like we can't set boundaries because then we putting off this air of not caring or of being selfish. But like you've explained, it's being kind to yourself. And I love the idea of a kindness currency. Like I almost want to go and create a little note that says kindness currency and put it into my purse and have it. So then every time I open my purse, there's a little reminder, be kind. Like, be kind to yourself, be kind to others.
Make us one. I want one for my wallet too.
Feel like I need to like one in my purse, one on the fridge, one at the office. Like just remind people, be kind. And whether it's to yourself or to others, and whether it's you smiling at someone or spending the time talking to the lady packing your groceries at Spa or taking the time to go and have a pedicure, it's just being kind in that moment. It's not, like you guys also said, it's not the huge big things. It's not coming home with a car full of helium balloons to surprise your husband with, and that's the only way you can show be kind. It could be making dinner or whatever, but it's finding that way that you can show kindness and spread kindness. There's a saying that I absolutely love, and it's like spread kindness like Nutella, and I am a chocolate. Anything for chocolate. So like when I picture spreading Nutella, it's like thick and it's to the edges of the toast and it's like delicious and it gets all over my face. So when I think of spreading kindness, that's what I think of. Like put it on thick, put it on everywhere that you can, get it all over yourself, make a mess, but spread it and enjoy it.
And it's contagious.
Yeah.
It's really hard not smiling at someone in the traffic if they smile at you. It's really hard being angry with someone when they are holding space for you. So yeah, it's hard out there. The world is a very unsure place. But when you're feeling like you're up against the wall, just remember that you have choice.
Yeah, and I think to pick up on something that Jane said earlier, kindness is a currency. Kindness is contagious. Kindness is a choice. Okay. But yeah, it's also follow the light of it, gravitate towards it. So if there are people or situations or things in the world that don't make you feel good, there can be a lot of kindness in just stepping away from it. I saw an amazing it was Jim Carrey. Actually, I saw like a little Jim Carrey meme this week, and he was talking about it. Like he was like, it takes courage to step away from things that don't make us feel good about ourselves. That's not cowardice, okay?
Yeah.
I think in the world right now there's a lot of unkindness bouncing around out there. And so protect yourself from it by, if you can, putting boundaries, taking steps away from it, unfollow people who don't make you feel good. Don't watch programs that leave you feeling horrible. Have hard conversations or step away from relationships that just don't make you feel good.
And I think now, living in a world of social media, we look at all these perfect lives on social media. Like you see that blonde, beautiful, perfect body, 3 perfect kids, the house is always tidy, her husband is perfect, they never fight, she has the dream job, their animals are even perfect. And you're like, flip, that's never going to be me. But that's social media. Like you can't compare yourself to social media. And I think that's really what I've learned during lockdown is it's not real. And like you said, unfollow those people. So why are you following someone who's making you feel so bad about your life and so inferior?
I know we always laugh about it. Back in the day, there used to be what, Paulie, a person that lived on your left and a person that lived on your right. And now we've just got people everywhere where we just feel like we have to amount to that, because if I'm not amounting to that, then I'm failing at my life, and I don't have a life like that. So that makes me feel even worse about my life. Whereas when you realize that Facebook is just the highlight reel.
Yeah.
I think we all need to be, and that's something that maybe we should all try and do a bit more of, is just be really like vulnerable out there. When you're having a bad day, put that photograph up, because again, it just gives the access to being able to say, I feel like that too.
Yeah. So I think a challenge for everyone tonight is, if it's not unfollowing someone who isn't making you feel good, maybe it's about going onto social and searching search kind, search love, search joy, see what pops up, and randomly just follow a few of those. There's so many people, places that I follow that I actually don't really know, okay, but the stuff just makes me feel good, and I stumbled upon it in exactly that kind of way, just searching things which are light and kind and joyful. And it sounds kind of corny, but it can just be a really inspirational quote, or a really real, honest post that can inspire you. And you got to look for that in your life.
Yeah, and I do love that. I love the idea. I want to go onto my Instagram now and search like #kind and put that as one of my things to follow. So then it does come up the whole time. So even if I'm not necessarily following those people, it's the kind posts that are coming up, and just it's filling my tank. So it's filling my tank so that I can help fill others and continue to fill my own. So it's a continuous. And I think, Paul, how do you think we can sort of spread kindness and show kindness to family members or friends that might have a rare disease and are feeling really low? How is one way that we can really show them kindness and try and fill their love tank?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, in the sense, and the first thing that jumps to mind for me is that sometimes, in wanting to show love and support and kindness, as well-meaning and good intentioned that it can be, we can sometimes miss the mark. It reminds me of a project that we worked on a few years ago, where the sponsor was so committed to buying school shoes for these kids, and they bought these school shoes, and were devastated when they went back and realized that none of the kids were wearing the school shoes because they just weren't into school shoes. Okay, it was not their love language. And so I think it's important sometimes to have conversations with the people that we care about and try to understand what is it that we can do for them that really works for them. There's no harm in asking that question. What can I do for you this week? I want to do something for you this week. What can I do for you? And letting that be our lead. And if you are someone who's being asked that question, be honest. Say what can work for you. I think we sometimes can be so caught up in whether it's modesty, that we can kind of turn stuff down, like, I'm fine, I don't need anything. But if someone is asking you that question and they genuinely want to be there for you, be specific about what it is that you're needing. I'd really love you to sit with me today. I'd really love you to come with me to that appointment. I love it when you say those things to me. So I think it's a really useful conversation to have with our loved ones, so that we're all on the same page, and we shouldn't feel orkies about that. That's just good, clear communication.
Meg, can I flip the table around and ask you what we shouldn't be doing?
Yeah.
I think, I can't speak for all patients, but for me, I think the hardest thing is when people don't believe you. Like I said earlier, with oh, but you don't look sick. Or they compare you, like I've had a lot of people say to me, but at least it's not cancer. And I'm like, flip it, I've got a rare disease. Like, yes, it's not cancer, but it's myasthenia gravis and it could kill me. Like, you can't compare it to anything else. But you can't compare anyone's life to anyone else, because we're all on our own journeys. And I think that's something it's something that I'm so passionate about, is just treat each individual as an individual. And also, before this whole COVID pandemic and having to wear masks, when I was going through chemo about 2 years ago, I had to wear a mask out in public. And I remember going to fetch my medicine, and the woman in front of me turned around and started laughing at me. And she was with her daughter. And her daughter said to her, "Look at this girl. Does she think that she's cool or something?" And it broke me. Like, normally I'm quite a strong person, but I'd just come out of hospital. I was going to KindnessCan to get my medicine. And it was scary enough having to wear a mask and have people stare at you, because back then, how many people did you see wearing a mask? And now these people, because I was wearing a mask, they thought I was deaf as well, and I couldn't hear their judgment and their comments. And literally for about 20 minutes, I was in the queue, and they were laughing at me, and they were judging me, and they were saying that I thought I was cool, that I was like this hip person, and it was awful. And I got to the front of the line, and I got to the pharmacist, and I just burst into tears. And he was like, "I'm so sorry. I didn't know what to do," because it's obviously, he can't say anything to a client because they're their clients. But he was like, I don't know what to do. And that was something that really, it made me take a big look at myself and think, we can't judge people. And that's really what I want to try and encourage people. And I think, Janie, as a parent, how do you tell your kids about people that are different, or like someone that's in a wheelchair, or a child that has a trachea, like a breathing tube in them? How do you approach that to them? How do you say it's okay? How do you show kindness with that?
I just try and be as transparent with my kids as possible. We talk about everything. There's nothing that we can't, sorry, that even my dog's talking now, you see. There's nothing that we don't speak about. We chat about the hard things. We chat about the joy. And I now have 3 children that are extremely empathetic, almost to their detriment sometimes. I'll give you an example. Hold on, I'm just going to shout at my dog. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. I'll give you an example. That my son came home the one day, and I could see he'd been crying. He was 9 at the time. And I said, "What's wrong?" And he burst into tears. He said, "We've just driven home, and there's a man standing on the side of the road. He's got nothing. And Mom, he's not gonna sleep tonight because he's gonna be cold." He was mortified. And I said, "Okay, well, how do you take that helplessness and turn it into power?" I didn't give him the answer. And he went away, and about half an hour he came back, and he said, "Okay, I'm ready." I said, What's the plan?" He said, "I'm going to ask Dad to take me out. I've packed." I said, "What have you packed?" Pillow, blanket, a Madam and Eve comic book, a lunchbox full of food. He had packed this whole care package, and they drove around to find the man. And my husband said the exchange between my son and this man was something that no words would be able to sum up. But it's that kind of thing. It's nurturing from a very, very early age, that we have so much in common. Maybe circumstances different, but I, like you, have a red beating heart. I, like you, want to be safe and loved. I, like you, I like you, I like you. Aussie, man, give it up, bruh. We have so much in common, and that's what we also love about KindnessCan's work, is that we all have a story. And if we line all of our stories up side by side, yeah, we have differences, but man, we have a lot in common.
I love that. So you're looking for the similarities rather than the differences, and that's the way that you spread kindness. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And can you guys tell me a little bit more about the workshops and stuff that you host? How can people get in touch with you? How can they learn more from you? How can they spread kindness with your help?
Yeah, so Jane and I have a series of talks and workshops that we offer to schools, to corporates, to groups of people who want us to come in and share some fun, practical tips about how they could grow, kindness in different parts of their life. So whether that's around the boardroom table, whether that's on the playground. So if you want to find out more about our workshops, you can go to our website, which is www.kindnesscan.co.za, or we are on social media as well. Jane and I, of course, also have the KindnessCan podcast, which you can find on Apple, where her and I talk about, all things kind, with lots of different people and their experiences of kindness in the world. So go take a listen to that. But we just love coming and holding space, and most importantly, sharing accessible, practical tools for people to find kindness again in their life. So look us up, and we would love to take the conversation further with you.
That's it.
That's it.
You did so good. You did that so good.
Guys, thank you. I can't begin to tell you how much I've appreciated this and loved chatting with you, and just kindness. I'm sending you so many virtual hugs and loves and kisses and everything. I feel motivated and excited to just look after myself and look after others and just be kind. So thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys are amazing, and it's been such an honor to chat to you and to have you here spreading kindness with all of our followers and the listeners and everything. You guys are absolutely amazing.
Oh, bless you. And another thing I just want to say, Meg, through all the hardships that you've gone through, what's also really stood out for me is that you've always been a survivor. And we often talk about in the kind of facilitation of kindness is that there are two camps of people in the world. There are people that are victims, and there are people that are survivors. And you are such a survivor. Honestly and truly, everything about you is just survival, survival, survival. And I send you so much love, and I'm looking forward to receiving a kind currency in the post, because I'm going to keep it in my wallet too. You're busy tomorrow.
Talk to a designer, because don't know if you want one of my designs.
Put on a little piece of paper.
Yeah, hand drawn. I don't want a fancy designer. I just want your hand on a piece of paper. That's also something to note, is that kindness isn't the helium balloons in the car, and it isn't the designer. It is that I've taken time out of my life to be this for you. So go well, and we can't wait to connect really, really soon.
Thank you so much, and thank you to everyone for listening.
Bye, everyone. Take care.
Lots of love.
Bye.
Bye.